Welcome back to the Competitor Talk. This is your host, Kyle Dangler. This podcast is presented by Loud Creative Works, and today we're very fortunate to have on Dan Straily, 8-year MLB veteran, onto the show. So Dan is currently playing with the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, which is one of the affiliates with the Philadelphia Phillies. It's their AAA team. So here we go.
Hello?
Hey, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you? Yeah, so thanks for coming on the show. I know you just finished up practice, I'm assuming, so just wanted to, get a few minutes of your time just to talk about, kind of your career, where you're at now, what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so I just wanted to start off with, going back, a while, when you first started playing, professional baseball. I mean, going into that, was it a struggle for you at first, adjusting to, kind of the minor league process of being a professional rather than, just playing the game, with people that you knew around you, kind of in a smaller circle, going to, the league where, you get to go on a team based on your performance rather than, based on, who you know kind of thing?
Yeah, so I was drafted 10 years ago, and I remember one of the first things I remember is showing up to kind of like what you described, like, you're picked to come to these places, like, you don't really get to say where you go, and I show up and I walk in the clubhouse, and, like, I was like, there's like 75 dudes in Arizona maybe in the clubhouse right when you first got drafted, and, like, I swear I was like one of like 3 people in the whole building that English was my primary language.
Wow.
And it's like intimidating at first because, like, here this kid that grew up in a small town in Eastern Oregon goes to college in a small town in West Virginia, and then like I'm in like a foreign country now.
Yeah.
And it was kind of then you get to know people, and then I remember my first short season team was in Vancouver, Canada, and the 25-man roster, it was like 13 Latino players and like 12 American players, and like it was just like and it was just kind of like this introduction of like, wow, like baseball is way more international than that little like pond I grew up in, that little circle like you mentioned, from compared to what I grew up in. And it was like the first time that I was on a team with like a bunch of dudes throwing 95, 96. Like I'd never seen that before, and so it was crazy to see like, wow, we got 4 of these guys in our bullpen. Like that's insane. Like it just the whole game of baseball, like for me, like it kind of changed that very first like taste of professional ball.
Yeah. So getting picked, kind of towards the middle to the half end of the draft. I mean, going into it, what were your expectations for yourself? Because going into that, going in the 24th round, a lot of people, think, I'm assuming that there's potential there, but not everyone pans out. I mean, how was it for you knowing that you were gonna have to do it yourself and get your work your way up through the majors?
So when I got drafted, like I never expected myself to be this like high draft pick. It wasn't because I doubted myself. It was because I went to college to play baseball to get a discounted education.
Yeah. Like
never really like thinking like I'd be given a chance to play professionally. Like it was always a dream of mine.
Yeah.
But it was like a pipe dream. It was just like something that like man, like every little kid, like that'd be so awesome to play professional baseball. And I got drafted in the 24th round. I told the scout that drafted me a couple nights before, I was like, honestly, like if I'm drafted anytime after like the 25th round, like I'm probably just gonna go back to school and like finish up my education, because that's just kind of more important to me at that point. And so I get drafted. I held true to my promise. I said that like, hey, like I'm gonna 25th round or earlier, I'm gonna take it. So I took it. I get to Arizona. I'm sitting down in this classroom, and Gil Patterson, the pitching coordinator for the Oakland A's, sits down and tells us like, listen, statistically speaking, like 2, maybe 3 of you will make it and have like successful long careers. And he followed that up with saying like, we don't care what your name is, who you are, whoever makes it, like the best players will make it.
Yeah.
And he said that the only thing the draft does is you get more opportunities the higher you were drafted now.
Yeah.
Like, because we're paying you more money, like we want you to succeed. We want everyone to succeed, but the guys that they give millions of dollars to, they want to see them more successful in the long run, because that's their money, that's their business model for the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he kind of gave us this rundown of like, hey, like I'm sure he used different language in this, but he kind of gave us this rundown of like, everybody in this room essentially has the same chance from right now. And he just told us, like, when you guys go out to your seasons, like, do something special, stand out in some direction, make yourself be known, and you'll get opportunity. And obviously that is a fancy way of saying, like, if you just go throw zeros up on the board, like, you're probably going to keep moving up. And I got drafted. I only threw really just a fastball, and I didn't really have much off-speed stuff. And that same man, Gil Patterson, is the one that, along with all my other pitching coaches as well, but Gil Patterson really helped me out a lot with development of changeup and slider over the years.
Yeah, so, just speaking about that, obviously, you have to, put up the stats and, put up zeros in order to move up. But, just going through the minor league process, was there anything that, you did mechanically to kind of separate yourself from the pack of the other players, that you came in with?
Dude, the process of changing mechanics over time was such like a gradual process that I was very blessed to have very good, very knowledgeable, very wicked pitching coaches at every stop of the way with the open A system. That, like, my pitching mechanics, like, gradually changed over time without even me realizing it because of, like, the stuff they were implementing and having me do.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have, like, one, like, aha moment, like, at any point in my career. It's just been, like, a constant build, like, starting from the ground up, constant build up for the last decade. And even today, I mean, that process hasn't stopped. I mean, you're always constantly trying to be the best version of yourself every time out. Always trying to be the best version of yourself, month in, month out, season in, season out. And that you just kind of never stop chasing that perfection.
Yeah, so, something I wanted to, follow up with, just looking at, your stats, especially, through the minor leagues, compared to, your time at college. I mean, just the amount of innings that, you see kind of pop up on the screen, going from, like around 60, maybe 80 innings in college, depending on, if you're a starter or reliever, and then moving in to, going for your first full season of minor league ball, pitching almost 150 innings. I mean, something like that, did that take a toll on your arm? I mean, did you have to do extra preparation to, make sure your arm was, rehabbing, nicely after a start?
I found it easier to pitch every fifth day than to pitch every seventh day.
Okay.
Because, like, every fifth day, like, you're just, like, you're in rhythm, you're in routine. Like, I probably made less throws pitching every fifth day than I did every seventh day because I wasn't throwing 2 bullpens. I wasn't, like, doing a ton of extra work because I felt like I had all this extra time. Like, it was just a different mentality where you're just kind of, like, every fifth day, like, there's a reason there's 5 starters, and it's been that way for a long time. It's just, like, that's, like, the perfect prescription of time off for you and the ability to get your work in but stay fresh but also be rested. It's like the perfect timetable.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember ever, like, feeling tired, feeling this, feeling that. It's what we did, and my body adjusted to it really, really well, and haven't really turned back since.
Yes, just kind of wrapping up, just with the minor league aspect of your career so far. I mean, going through, all the ranks, obviously, just talking to other players and specifically pitchers, they talk about, obviously the hitters get better and better, they get more disciplined as, you go up the ranks. I mean, just for you personally, I mean, did you see that? And, going through that, I mean, were you a guy who watched a lot of film, especially, the night before a start to make sure that, you knew where everyone's, cold and hot zones were, so you were prepared to go into the start?
It's funny you bring that up because nowadays that's a thing. When I was coming up through the system, like, there was no film. There was no video guy. There was no anything. Like, we charted everything. We're the ones that did everything. If, someone had played against a guy, like, that was your only chance to, like, have, like, any sort of, like, a scouting report. There was no advanced data. It was just, here's your best versus their best. And it kind of helps you define who you are as an athlete a little bit better than, like, today's game at a younger level because there is no pitching to scouting reports. It's like, I was really good at these 4, 5, 6 things, whatever that is for each pitcher. Yeah. Whatever you're really good at, you just attacked with that. And on days when that matched up really well against that group of hitters, you had a lot of success. On days when you were, like, a little off and maybe not being the best version of yourself on the mound that day, then that's when they were able to get you if it matched up with what they were good at as well. But if you were bad, if you were trying to do what you were good at and say you slightly missed, but it also happened to be their bad spot, like then it was a recipe for success for you either way.
Yeah. So, talking about that, the technology aspect, I mean, nowadays, you guys have a lot of, tools at your disposal to, make sure you're prepared for every start. But looking back, just going from not having it to now, I mean, is it kind of, making the game a little extra exhausting in the fact that, you have more technology, which is good in the sense, but also, trying to make sure, you try to, pinpoint every, specific guy's, weakness? Or do you a guy that kind of, just glances over it real quick and, don't think too much into it?
I'm pretty in depth with the analytical stuff. There's a turning point in my career where I was kind of at a loss and I didn't know where to turn and what to do. And that was when I started really diving in with some analytical stuff, and that's when I was able to kind of reinvent myself, if you will. And so I am very much into that sort of thing, but it still is just a tool, and a tool is only as good as the person working with it, right? Like, You give me a hammer, I'm going to have no clue what to do with a hammer, but you give a hammer to a skilled carpenter, they're going to know exactly what to do, type of thing, where it's just like one of those things where I've spent time learning what these numbers mean, to me specifically, so that I'm able to address an issue very quickly. If my slider spin rate or my slider release slot or my fastball is doing this or doing that, I'm able to adjust it very quickly and take a lot of the guesswork out of the time of trying to get myself back on track. I know it's a term overused in baseball, but like trying to get myself back on track with something, trying to get something back to where it used to be or better than it used to be. I'm able to use those numbers and take a lot of the steps out of the learning curve away from myself, just because we have those tools available to us now.
Now, do you see any, I'm not trying to, have you, point out any specific, teammate of yours, in the past or now, but do you see anyone, in the locker room or in the film room that, it's kind of going beyond, the means of, looking at the film, taking too much time and, looking too much into it, especially with, all the different, films and angles and, charts that are at your disposal?
Baseball is funny in the sense that, like, when guys are going well, like, they're usually not in the film room. They're usually not looking at themselves. When you're firing on all cylinders and everything's timed up, like, you can't say this game's easy, but the game is much easier when everything's going your way, when everything's on time mechanically, when the ball just feels so natural in your hand. And I think we as athletes and as baseball players and pitchers specifically, when things tend to not go our way, that's when we start seeing ourselves in the film room, overanalyzing, thinking something's wrong. And, I find myself sometimes having to check myself on that exact same thing, being like, hey, like, maybe yesterday it was just wasn't like anything was wrong. I just, the ball wasn't bouncing my way. I wasn't able to execute as many pitches as I needed to, and understand the difference between something being broken or something being wrong versus just like, hey, I just didn't have it today. And, and it sucks, but like those days come and go. But I think as a whole, as baseball players, sometimes we see guys in the clubhouse diving a little way more when things are going not their way than when things are going their way.
Yeah, so just moving away from the aspect of your minor league career, every time we have a guest on the show that is fortunate enough to make the major leagues, we always ask them the question, the time that they found out and kind of the moment that they found out that they got called up. I mean, do you have any recollection or memory of that?
Yeah, I was charging a game in AAA. It was a Wednesday night, I think it was Wednesday night, and bring my chart in, turn it in. My fiance at the time, my wife now, my fiance had just flown into town, and so I was trying to get out of there quickly, and I was ready in street clothes because I was charting, so I dropped my chart off, I go grab my backpack, I'm walking back out, pitching coach stops me and goes, hey, Darren Bush, he's like, Bushy wants to talk to you about your chart. So I come in, he's like, hey, is this really your best effort on this chart? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you missed this box here. And I was like, okay, whatever. And he's like, all right. He goes, real question though. He goes, do you want to? He goes, have you thought at all about the Arizona Fall League? And I was like, well, yeah, I have. I was like, I know it's a big honor. I was like, I need to know when it starts and ends because I'm getting married this off season and I needed to have like a time frame to be able to tell my fiance.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, well, the club wants you to go. They don't need an answer now, but tomorrow when you get to Oakland, you can tell them they're in person. And I just kind of froze, and I was like, wait, what? And he said, "Congratulations, you're starting against the Blue Jays on Friday."
Wow.
And I was just like, it just like hit me, and like I was like stunned. And then he walked me out in the clubhouse and announced it to the whole team that I was getting my call up. And it was a really cool moment because I was able to walk outside and go to Amanda and just be like, hey. So I was supposed to pitch on Friday here, but it got moved. And she was supposed to leave Saturday. And so she was kind of like, what? And I was like, yeah, it got moved. I'm pitching Friday in Oakland against the Blue Jays. And she just like, are you kidding? Like, are you kidding? And like, you know, I met my wife in high school, so she'd been along this whole journey with me. And so this whole call up, it wasn't just my call up. I mean, she was right there with me the whole time, and she saw all the ups and downs, like getting to that point of my career. And so it was really special, the fact that I got to just walk outside and tell her instead of like having to call her on the phone and do this. And so she just was able to call her work and just be like, hey, so Dan's going to be making his debut, so sorry, I'm not going to be at work next week if that's okay. And they were like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Like, take the week off. And so she was fortunate enough that she was able to just come down and experience that whole first week with me too, which was really special.
Well, yeah, so did you have any, thought in the back of your mind that you were getting called up? I mean, did you have any idea, maybe someone went down and, you were kind of the next man up? I mean, just going through that.
I was on this like incredible run. Like we talked about, like I said, like when baseball is going easy, like the game is much easier. I'd pitched like 60-some innings and given up like 20-some hits and had like a .9 ERA.
Wow.
And they were just like, but the team was in the playoff race. All 5 starters were doing great. I wasn't even following the major league team. Like I didn't even have Twitter at this point in my life. Like I was just playing baseball. I was showing up every day. I was working. I had a great mentor named Tyson Ross who was there with me in AAA. And he was just speaking into me how to like be a professional in the big leagues, what to expect, and all this kind of stuff. But like it was still like I was in AAA, and I'd only been in AAA for like 6 weeks, and I was like, you know what, like this is great. I'm loving this, and hopefully next year, my whole goal that whole season was just try to get protected by the 40-man roster, or make myself attractive enough to another team that they would want to Rule 5 draft me.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, no one got hurt, no one did anything. They just took someone out of the rotation and made room for me. And so as an athlete, like that was one of the most like gratifying experiences because you're doing so well that they make room for you. I mean, any call-up is great, but there's not like a better feeling than like I earned this like to a T. Like I earned every bit of this. And to show up and do that in the middle of a playoff hunt was really fun. And so I got thrown into playoff baseball right away. And that was incredible to be a part of that. When I showed up, the team was a couple games out. And then we were like 6 games out with like a week to go and ended up winning the division because we played the Rangers like the whole week.
Yeah.
And we ended up beating them almost every single game. And the last day of the season, the winner was the division winner. The loser was the wild card.
Okay, I think I remember that.
Yeah. And it was pretty incredible.
Yes, just being, with the Oakland Athletics, through the minor leagues and then, obviously, starting your career in the major leagues with them, getting traded, after a few years with them, going through that process, with a couple of your teammates and, one of the big trades in that, trade deadline acquisition. Going through that, I mean, was that something kind of tough for you, having to move into a new city, join a new clubhouse and, not only, going to the Chicago Cubs, but being sent to AAA.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like the first time I got traded, because now it's like, all right, cool, be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
But like back then, I was 24 or 25. Maybe I was 25 then, and I've been in Oakland A since '09. And like thought like, you know what, like I'm gonna be in Oakland A for life. Like this is the best. Like you're just like you're so comfortable there. I knew the grounds crew in Arizona. Like I knew everybody. Like I'd made every stop along the way in that organization. And when I got traded, it was like when you're like in high school and like your girlfriend dumps you and you're just like, oh,
yeah,
okay, I guess I'll go over here now.
Yeah,
like it was like this kind of weird feeling, but. I walked into the clubhouse in Chicago, and it was a little awkward at first, and like it is anytime the first day you're there. But like I was I definitely remember it being just kind of weird because I went from playoff baseball to losing team baseball.
Yeah,
and that was a weird part, but it was like, the end of the transition phase, because I was in AAA with like Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Jorge Soler, and some of their dudes that ended up being a part of that championship team there. But it was so I got a chance to be with them for a minute, but that was a very short-lived organization for me as well. But there was definitely kind of a weird feeling the first time you ever get traded.
Yeah. So, just going, through a bunch of, trading processes, and then, obviously, going through the ranks of the minor leagues. You mentioned just before, kind of a turning point in your career. I just wanted to touch on, when did that happen for you, and, what was the process like? I mean, was there a mentor that, kind of took you under your wing that you talked about before? I mean, was it just, fixing up your mechanics? I mean, what made that turn in your career?
So I was at the end of 2015 season, like, my arm just like felt slow. I felt tired. I felt great. No pain. I was really sore after starts, but pitching, like, you're going to be sore. And I didn't understand, like, why my velocity was down. I didn't understand why I was able to throw the pitches in the same spots, but they were getting hit now. And so I went to my pitching coach in Houston now, and I said, hey, there's this throwing program I've been, like, kind of researching that I want to check out this off season. But I know that the clubs usually like give this throwing program, so I just wanted to run it by you. And he was like, "What's it like? Who does it? What's it called?" And I was like, "It's out of Seattle. It's called Driveline." And he's like, "Oh, Kyle Bodie. I know Kyle." And it was before Driveline was like mainstream.
Yeah.
And so like I get a hold of them, and we were going to play the Mariners. So Kyle came up to Seattle that day, and I met Kyle. Gave me some stuff, and we talked for a little bit. And I was like, "All right, well, this sounds like this is kind of like the direction I want to go." In terms of like, I was like, I don't really like, I'm not like interested in like how hard can I throw. Like, I want to be throwing consistently 91, 92 every pitch. Like, I'm just want to get back to where I used to be. And so we developed this throwing program, and obviously Driveline's absolutely blown up into the pitching development center that it is now. But at the time, it was like the Driveline I went to opened up at noon and closed at 8 p.m. and you just kind of showed up whenever you wanted inside that time frame, and like not many people were there. And like obviously now it's like there's waiting lists to get in there, and there's just umpteen people that don't train, they train remotely, and it's just kind of like, so I got a chance to go up there kind of before it was mainstream, and be there from not day one, but like being there from like the not shortly after that, not too long after that is when I was able to show up there. And so they were a big influence on me. And it's kind of weird, I started doing them, and then I use a product called Recovery Pump every single day after I pitch, where ever since I put those two things together, like, I don't get sore anymore.
Okay.
And it's been like 3-4 years of not being sore. And so it allows me to like train in between starts much more effectively. And if something was off one start, I can actually focus on it in my bullpen session instead of being tired and sore. I can get after it because my body is prepared to take that workload much quicker now.
What exactly is it?
What is what?
You mentioned, the recovery process. I mean, is there anything specific that you do with them?
Well, I do like the Driveline stuff after you throw every day. It's just like like anyone would do like cuff weights or anything like that. It's part of their protocol. But Recovery Pump is like Normatec. Like they're just like these compression sleeves. I actually have it on right now as I'm sitting here doing this podcast with you because I just came off the field, and it's much easier to try to get it out of the way. Because 45 minutes every night when you get home gets kind of long sometimes. But it's just a compression. It compresses up your sleeve, just helps get the blood moving, helps get inflammation out of your arm, and gets new blood in there and lets the body heal itself. Like a lot of these recovery tools and techniques are just really putting the body in a position to recover itself.
Okay.
And like guys that go to cryotherapy, like all you're doing is taking all the blood from your extremities and they rush to your core. I mean, it's much more deep science than this, but like the blood rushes to your core. And then when you get out of there, like, after a couple minutes, the blood rushes back out of your body and allows your blood. So all you're doing is giving your body the best chance to recover and take care of itself like it's been doing for thousands of years. And so it's just kind of like finding the right, adding different things into the soup, if you will, to find the right mixture for myself.
Now, do you wear that, in between starts, going through, the season? I mean, I'm assuming you don't wear that, when you're pitching, obviously, right?
No, you should, let's see, I think we're missing this. It's like a machine that you hook yourself up to, and it like, you just
oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
Google it real quick, and you'll get a better understanding.
No, I think I've seen. I just didn't know.
It's a sleeve you put on.
Okay, yeah, definitely. That's cool. Just talking about something. I'm sure you would agree. Every player has their own kind of process to recover. So it's cool that you found yours. At a point in your career that you could turn it around.
Yeah, and I never would have found it. I wouldn't have found this product, but Dallas Keuchel was the one that actually turned me onto it, and he started using it in 2014 or 15 as well. And when he kind of showed me that, and it was right before he became like the famous version of Dallas Keuchel. He was still just kind of like the up and coming guy at that point. And we're all just seeking to be the best version of ourselves. And so he found something, he shared it with me, and I made the investment and got one for myself, and been doing it ever since.
Yeah. So before we talk real quick, about what you're up to now with the Phillies. I just wanted to ask you, as we're kind of wrapping up. Obviously, you were with the Marlins, for probably the biggest chunk of your major league career, just in terms of innings, that you've pitched in the majors. So going through that with the Marlins, being with them for 2 years, and signing that $5 million contract to go into this season. And then, getting, released by them. I mean, was that a tough process for you, knowing that, they had that big investment in you, and then, you kind of turn around after spring training and they kind of give up on you?
Yeah, without going too much into details of it, basically, baseball's a business, and when a team can turn around and say, like, hey, we're going to save $3.8 million by letting you go, and the only question is this a results-based thing or is this a money-based thing?
Yeah.
And for them just to say it's a money-based thing, like, it's really hard to swallow as a man, but at the same time, like, it's just a business, and it's a very cutthroat business, and they made a business decision, and yeah, it changed the trajectory I thought I was on, but at the same time, like, I'm still just gonna go keep throwing baseballs. But yeah, that was a very tough time in my life. I know it wasn't that many months ago, but that was very frustrating when someone tells you that this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna do, and then the last day of spring training to just be like, hey, you're out of here, is it's just not being a good person. Yeah. It's really what it boils down to.
No, yeah, I didn't want to bring up a sore subject, but I just wanted to, talk because, just a lot of, even the MLB and, talking to other NFL players, it's kind of interesting how, just from the fan side, you just see the players on the field, and, you think everything's, all cool, being an MLB player. But then, talking to, you guys, it's interesting how, you guys always, use the word, it's a business kind of aspect. And, just guys getting cut and, signed by different teams. It's interesting to see how, you guys go through the process behind the scenes of, not only, pitching, but, it's a business at the end of the day.
100%. And at the end of the day, they're in it to make money. And that's really what their whole thing is. And the way baseball's going now is, why pay someone $5 million when I can pay someone else $500,000.
Yeah.
And I get the business move they made. It was just the timing of their business move that really was disrespectful to the whole process that I feel.
Yeah, they could have gave you time with the Orioles that picked up you. Could have gave you time with them in spring training to develop bonds with the pitching coaches. Yeah, the bonds with the teammates, and not only but also with the catchers. I'm sure it's a big aspect specifically for a pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just talking about getting off that subject, wrapping up, just talking, obviously you pitched for the Orioles, kind of didn't go your way, in terms of what you would have liked to see. Yeah,
that's putting it lightly.
No, yeah, it didn't go your way at the end of the day, and getting a fresh new start with the Phillies, especially being in AAA right now with them, going through your stats recently, even though you had a rough start, yesterday, just before that, you've been improving, having going 7 innings, 3 starts before that, and 6 before that. I mean, going through the process, especially with the Phillies, in the MLB, pitching woes as of recently, any chance that, you're trying to put extra pressure on yourself that, resulted in, not a good outing for you just because, the chance of maybe getting called up?
No, man, there's extra pressure is it's like fake pressure you put on yourself. Like there's it never does any good to anybody. Like you come out here and you prepare and you get ready for your start and you leave everything you have on the mound, and whatever happens wins when you do those things. If you leave everything you have on the mound and you know you prepared the best you could, you know you took care of yourself, you know you slept right, you know you ate right, you're able to live with yourself and you're able to go home at night and sleep well at night because those are everything else is kind of out of your control. So when you do the things that you can control, you're able to take those bad days in stride and understand that they're not the norm. They were just didn't have it. Like a day like yesterday, I gave up. I think it was like 6 runs in 2 innings, and most of that, all of that came in the 3rd inning. But I didn't get an out in the 3rd inning, and it was just like single, double, single. It was just like kind of bleeding me to death, and I was never able to make the right pitch at the right time. And before you know it, I was out of the game. But the younger version of myself might have freaked out a little bit, might have got upset, might have thought something was broken, might have done this, might have done that. But now that I've put a few miles on my arm, I'm able to understand that, listen, like,
just wasn't your day,
go back and look at the analytics, like, I really wasn't doing anything wrong. They just hit it where we weren't and move on. And so that's kind of, you brought up the potential call-up and all this kind of stuff. Well, listen, like, those things are out of our control as athletes.
Yeah.
So, like, worrying about that is just going to cause extra stress. It's going to hinder performance. And so I just take care of myself. I try to eat right, sleep right, make sure I do enough homework on the hitters, make sure I be diligent in my work in between starts in the weight room and in the training room and in the bullpen session in between, and let the rest take care of itself. Because if I just go up there and, you mentioned the first start with the Phillies, when I got DFA'd earlier this summer, because I have over 5 years of service time, I had the option to take my contract and go with the Orioles or become a free agent at that point. Yeah. And I believed that I had everything inside of me to get back to the major leagues this year. And it was proving to myself, proving to baseball, proving to whoever's, watching you with an eye of, potential, I want this guy on my team. Showing them that, listen, in Baltimore, I just wasn't myself. I found myself in a rut. I could not get out of that rut. But that is not the new norm. That is not the new Dan. And so I think I've made 10 starts in AAA. And, 8 of those starts, 7 of those starts, 8 of those starts, I'm really proud to put my name on and just be like, listen, here you go. Yeah. 2 of those starts, 3 of those starts are ones where I'm like, hey, listen, those ones got away from me. It wasn't broken. I just didn't have it that day. And that's just pitching. People understand that. That's just pitching. I was able to talk to a well-known baseball player today here in Al Leiter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We were talking a little bit about it, and it's just kind of listen, days like that happen. But, a true professional, it happens, but look what happens the next start out. So, that's the kind of thing where, my first start here as a member of the AAA with the Phillies didn't go that great. At the end of my game, I gave up a 3-run homer that killed my line score, whatever. Yeah. But then I came back a couple days, 5 or 6 days later, and fired 7 innings of one-hit baseball. Yeah. It's just nothing changed. I threw the exact same pitches. I was just able to execute more pitches one day than the other. And a lot of that, too, is we call it the luck factor, where there's certain days where you have nothing and they hit rockets at people all day. Yeah. And then other days, yesterday, I had more soft contact yesterday against myself than I did my 2 previous starts, but I gave up way more hits. And so it's just kind of some days it just seems like they just weren't meant to be. And I think the understanding that of being a young guy versus having a little more dirt in my spikes, being able to comprehend the difference between the two and just keep moving forward. And so I'm just going to keep working here. We got a couple weeks left of the AAA season, and I'm working for trying to get back into a playoff team, trying to get called up with the Phillies. But ultimately, that's out of my hands. That's in the hands of my bosses, and that's in the hands of the talent evaluators here. And it's just, quite frankly, whatever they want, they're going to do. And so you just want to make sure that you're firing on all cylinders and ready to go so that they want to call you up.
Yeah, and I'm sure, for you, talking about, putting, kind of the label or a stamp, if you will, on those 7 or 8 out of your 10 starts. I mean, just speaking about that, in terms of, baseball standards, I mean, putting, 8 solid starts out there out of 10, I think any team, would take that, just looking at, your stat lines.
Absolutely. You're only as good as your last start. You're only as good as what you're doing now. But at the same time, when you got enough innings under your belt, you're only as you have track record of people being able to look at this and just go like, hey, listen, like this guy's proved year after year after year for a decade now that he's capable of getting it done. Like, if there's anything you want to be known for as a starting pitcher, it's being trusted. And up until this year, like I just never got it going in Baltimore. But once I got it going, once I got sent down, like I almost wish I could have started the season in AAA. Because I had to take 15 days off between the process of getting released by the Marlins before I got on the field with the Orioles. Was 15 days of being away from the game. Yeah. That's a really long time, and that's a rough way to start. I got to Baltimore, didn't even get a chance to throw a bullpen.
They kind of throw you in the fire, yeah.
Well, my first it was, hey, here's the Yankees, yeah. And you just took 15 days off of baseball. I mean, that's a tough first matchup, and obviously I felt great. I felt like I got this, and it just didn't. And then it just kind of like snowballed, and I was really behind the 8 ball. And had some good starts there, but they got washed away with a couple bad ones because then the numbers all just look bad. And it's hard. It's hard to swallow as an athlete and as a competitor. But at the same time, you have to have the ability to just like kind of put your pride aside and just go compete, go get better, find out what was wrong, find out what you're not doing like you used to do, or find out what you need to change to be a better pitcher, a better athlete, a better competitor, and go do those things because this is just a game of adjustments, and the adjustments never stop. And the adjustments I've made this season have proven to myself that, like, I'm nowhere near done pitching, like nowhere near. And it's very encouraging to get results behind that because that's what we play this game for is the results. But just the ability to keep competing. Like I'm proud of myself for never throwing in the towel, never feeling defeated, just continually pressing every single day to get better in some fashion every single day. And I think that's probably why I'm still standing here talking to you today, trying to get called back up with the Phillies, is because I've just been relentless this whole season on fixing whatever was not going right.
Yeah, just talking to you, for this short time, just, hearing from you, it sounds that, you're a grinder and that kind of, you're going to, put your, spikes in the dirt, if you will, any day that, a team asks you to just to, go out there and, perform to your best of your ability.
Yeah, I think part of that, this whole conversation started with, the fact that I was drafted in the 24th round. And I think that being drafted that late, one thing it did do to me is show me right away that you're going to have to fight for every opportunity you want in this game. You're going to have to create your own opportunity this whole entire time. And that has not stopped now. It's a different version now, but that has not stopped now. There was a time where I had more starts in the major leagues over a 2-year span than anybody else. And like I earned those, and I was very successful in those. And it's very hard for me to swallow the fact that I'm still not there. But it doesn't stop me from working to try to get back to and continue that process. My goal is to play this game in the major leagues for 10 years. So I'm only halfway done with my goal, my journey. And will I get there? I don't know. Time will tell. But I'm going to give it the best effort I have, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great to hear. Now, I know we're just running a little bit over time, but I just wanted to wrap up with one final question on a lighter note. Just, going, through your career, going through your time of, playing professional baseball, just to wrap up, what was your favorite moment so far in your career that, you kind of look back on and, just, have fond memories of?
One thing that it's kind of baseball, kind of family related, but
absolutely.
So it was a couple years back in San Francisco, and my wife was 9 months pregnant in Miami, and I go to the field, and I'm pitching on a Friday night, and I'm like, man, like, what am I going to do? Is like, who was I? I'm trying to think back. It was Matt Moore. I was facing Matt Moore. That's right. And we come up there, and my trainer, once I got to the field, my wife had his contact information, and if she goes into labor, she was supposed to call him. And I go out and pitch, and I completely forgot about it. I was so locked in. Well, I end up pitching into the 9th inning that night.
Wow.
And I come out with 8 1/3 innings, and I'm standing there, and I still have not thought about my wife back home yet. I'm still locked in on my job.
Yeah.
And one of my teammates looks at me, gives me a big hug, and just dude, he goes, that was an amazing performance. And it's even cooler. That's not even going to be the coolest thing that happens to you this week. And I was just like, oh yeah. And I was like, Dustin, did my wife call you? And he's like, nope. And so I was like, perfect. And so it was just like this amazing week for my family where I had a really good start in a down in San Francisco and jumped on an airplane the next morning at 6 a.m. and flew back to Miami, and my son was born the next day. And so it was a really, really cool, really cool sequence of events for us as a family that week. My whole family was out in Miami waiting for us when we got there, it seemed like, and it was just a really, really fun experience.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. If you had if you went into labor, during your pitching, you could always just use the excuse that, you kind of, have to bring the paycheck home, first.
Yeah, no, she understood there was a chance. She understood there was a chance I was going to miss the birth of our son, which happens way more often in baseball than you probably realize. But luckily I was fortunate enough to make it home in time and be a part of all that. And then that turned around and started the first game after the All-Star break. It was the All-Star break week, so I got it was in nice timing. And I started the first game back after the break, so I was able to go pitch and then go back to being a new dad and try to had a couple days at home before we took off on our road trip. So it was a nice series of events, but definitely a hectic one. I'm glad that Amanda was very understanding about me missing the potential missing the birth of our son.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I just wanted to wrap up, with just saying, thanks for coming on. I know we kind of ran over time, expected, but, I just, it was great to hear from you, just talk about your career. And, we look forward to, hopefully seeing you, back with the Phillies in the majors. I'm sure, just talking to you, I'm sure we're expecting, you're going to keep on grinding. And, even if you don't make it, I'm just going to, sure, we're all going to look at your stat line, throughout the minors the rest of the season and, see hopefully success, come across the scoreboard.
I appreciate it. And hopefully I'm doing really well in the fantasy league too.
Yeah.
And we can keep talking that way too when I'm undefeated there here in a few weeks. So we'll be good to go.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Yeah, so hopefully, we'll talk soon and, best of luck.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Have a good day. Yeah, so that was Dan Straily from Philadelphia Phillies organization. Great to talk to him about, sports and, talking, he mentioned the Fantasy Football League. I posted on social media about that, just with, the competitor talk. We're having some of our fans and some of our athletes just to come on. We're very fortunate to get a good mix of both. And, Dan actually, was generous enough to join the league. So, just talking to him about that, it was funny that he brought it up. We just had a draft earlier on today, this afternoon before his practice. So, hopefully, he's not undefeated. Hopefully, I can take home the crown over, all these, good friends and, athletes that, we've had the fortunate, pleasure to talk to. So, we wish Dan the best of luck on the field with the Phillies. And, hopefully, we see him back with the Phillies, making a playoff push in the majors, but, it's great to hear from him. It sounds that like he's a big grinder, he's had some tough luck, with a couple different franchises. But, he's made his way back, to where he wants to be. Just talking about, having some great starts with the Phillies in the AAA this year so far, coming down the pipeline towards the end of the season. So we wish Dan the best on the field, not so much with the fantasy football aspect, just because, we hope, we beat him when we're always head-to-head. Speaking for my team personally. So, just, hopefully, Dan, gets his chance again back in the majors. We hope to see him there soon. And, thanks for listening to our competitor talk, episode. We look forward to, getting a chance to talk to more athletes like Dan himself. And, we wish Dan the best. And, thanks for taking the time to listen to us. Have a good day.